Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Tammy. I'm 54. I live alone. And as I said in my last video, my son and his wife were staying with me for about 5 months and they had just moved out. I love being able to see my son when he was here because he's kind of a loner, keeps to himself. So it was really nice to be able to do that. But I realized very quickly that I was really happy to have my house back. My daughter, who was my youngest, moved overseas for school, and when she did that, I was lost. It was very hard to deal with, all the quiet, but I got used to it. And then my mother came to stay with me last summer, and that helped. And I enjoyed the company, but I quickly realized that I did miss some of my alone time. You know, whether it was making my YouTube videos or watching YouTube kind of in private is my thing, because I feel like, I don't know, sometimes people not necessarily judge you, but think to themselves, oh God, what are you watching? So I kind of like to do it on my own. But my mother is back for the summer. She is staying with my uncle, so she's not here. And now that my son is gone, I have my house back. I've got my time back, basically. My daughter will be coming back for a visit for a couple of weeks in July, so I am very much looking forward to that. But you know, I was thinking about next summer and going on vacation, because I had some memories pop up on my Facebook, and they were pictures of you know, vacation with the kids at our ocean spot. And I said, oh God, you know, there's a thought that is like, what if we never get back there again? So I talked to my kids, and my daughter said that she would go with her partner, and my mother said as long as she was in good health, and my stepfather was in good health, she would go. So it's probably something I'm going to book, and something that we'll do, and I am very much looking forward to that. My middle son will not be able to go because he's re-enlisting in the service, and so he's obviously going to be busy with that. But when I was talking to my middle son about it, I said, you know, at some point I'm probably going to have to go alone. And it's going to feel so lonely. And he said, you know, the first time, maybe, but just like when my daughter left, like, I'll get used to it. And I don't know, I think vacation's different. I think about the things that you do when you're on vacation, you know, playing cards, listening to music, busting on each other, watching the kids jump the waves or run from the waves. It's going to be a very different experience for sure. I wanted to say though, if you're approaching a time where you're going to be alone for the first time in a long time, just focus on hobbies. Or start new ones that maybe you had put down previously. You probably will find that you don't have enough time in a day to even do everything that you want to do, especially if you're still working. You know, I didn't really have much of a single life. I got pregnant in high school, and then got married at 21, and you know, my ex-husband and I had 3 children before we split, and so I never really had a time to go out and live it up, and I don't regret that at all either. I think now is my single time, is my time, and I'd rather spend it doing hobbies and relaxing and having a peaceful life than, you know, up front where you're out partying and being hungover the next day. But now I spend time with friends. I go to family events. I've got a big family. Picnics, birthday parties. If I want to go to a show or to a play or anything, I reach out to my girlfriends. I do have a group of girlfriends that we go out to dinner. We try to go out to dinner once a month. I think that's important, and I had to pull that together once I became single, because even though I had friends, I wasn't really close with anybody anymore. You know, you dive into your family, and it finally took some reaching out to say, hey, let's go to lunch, and then let's add somebody to the group. And that's kind of how it grew, and how it became what it is. And now, sadly, it's almost too big of a group, because not everybody's schedules now are aligning, and so it's probably going to have to get cut back down again. But I want to say probably, well, a lot of my girlfriends who either are married or married and still have children at home, they still want to get away. You know, they still want girl time, and they may not be able to take a girls' weekend, but they certainly like to go out to dinner and go to a show, or go to a show that maybe their husbands or boyfriends wouldn't go to. So it works out quite well. So if you are single, male or female, you know, start reaching out to people you used to hang out with, or work friends, or start getting kind of a group together, or even just one person. It's really not as hard as you may think it is. I will say the downside to kind of being alone, and there's a lot of pros to it, but I don't think it's a lonely time at all. I think as long as you keep yourself busy and you have friends, it's great. The only downside that I really think is like not being able to split bills, you know, having to take care of an entire household yourself. And that's just for the sake of like this beach vacation that I'm thinking about next year. You know, when I was with somebody, I used to be able to split that with them, you know, and now I've got to pay for the whole thing. You know, saving towards my retirement is very slow, because sometimes I need to help out the kids financially, and, you know, I try to budget, but even that becomes difficult. So that whole financial aspect can be very difficult. But the trade-off to being in a relationship where there's arguments all the time, or you've got to ask for permission to spend joint money, or, you know, there's a lot of peace that comes along with it too. But it's not to say that I am got everything down pat. I mean, I'll admit I'm still trying to find myself, defining kind of who I am, what that really is, what it looks like. I'm a very traditional person. I was looking to have a very traditional life, and it's turning out to not be that way. And at first, I wasn't okay with that, but I am starting to embrace that, and I am starting to be okay with that. And in doing that, my situation is starting to feel more comfortable. But it takes time to feel like something isn't missing. I think during this transition of the kids kind of leaving, especially the last one, was also at a time in my life where I left a long-time job, and that can be crushing, because sometimes I think our jobs define who we are, and when we don't have that job anymore, you start to wonder, what are you living for? What are you, not in a bad huge depressive state of mind, I guess, but in a sense of like, that was sometimes the one thing you kind of looked forward to, that gave you some structure, I guess, a reason to get up and go to your job and all of this. And now when you're waking up and you're going to a job that you know you're not going to stay at, it's just a job to pay the bills until you find the right one, you know, that can be a blow, and that can really take a hit on your mental, I guess, I don't know, your frame of mind, how you think about things, and wanting to get up. And so that can be really, really difficult. But you have to remember, I guess, one thing is that it doesn't always last forever. Everything is a very short period of time, I guess. I mean, that's tough to say when it seems like it's taking you 2 and 3 years to find something as far as a good job. You know, you want something that's fulfilling, but you want something that maybe is worth that education that you have, or that is going to pay well enough, or what you think you're worth, and all of those things. So that can be tough. And I know it all, from the mental part of it to the changing of the jobs to the kids leaving, has negatively affected my relationship, obviously. You know, I can't tell you how many times that I've broken it off and ran back to it. And again, I think it all has a lot to do with trying to figure out who you are and what's important to you and what you want and what you're okay with and what you're willing to settle for now. And I've struggled with all of that, and I'm sure it's not over yet, but I'm getting closer, and I'm embracing again more of what my life is starting to look like versus what I thought it was going to look like. And that's probably the biggest takeaway from all of this, is that we have an idea of what we thought our lives were going to look like at certain stages maybe in our life too. And I did not expect to be where I am right now at this age. Complete opposite. But your life is what you make of it, and you have to make the best of every situation. And just because it's not what you expected or what you originally planned doesn't make it bad. You know, I just I'm still convincing myself of that on certain days. You know, I have good days and I have bad days, but I think overall I am very, very lucky to have the job that I do, to have the salary that I have, although it may not be what I want, to have the people in my life, to have my family, to have my children be healthy and live productive lives, to have a partner in my life, to have my friends, to have my health. I mean, there's so many wonderful things. And I don't think that we should stop setting goals for ourselves or striving for the things that we truly want. But I don't necessarily think that it's so black and white that we can't consider things being different than maybe what we originally expected. So with that said, I'm going to end it here. I would love to know if you're going through this, if you've gone through it, and is your life turning out to be exactly what you thought it was going to be? And if it's not, are you okay with it? I'll catch you guys on the next one.